Hola, mi amigos y familia. Here is my weekly update. I have again not much news. Well, I do have some news, none of it is good from Panama today. I told you last week that immigration was opening, and this week it did. It opened, but only to lawyers, which we knew. Our lawyer was, however, unable to make an appointment for us for next week, so we have no appointment, which I had hoped to have. That didn't happen because she's waiting on some form from immigration. I'm not sure what or what for, but we're waiting. Today is day 92 of waiting, day 92 since immigration closed. Shortly after which, Panama went into a pretty strict quarantine. Here in Panama City, we are again in, we had 1 week of kind of not. We had curfew that week, but apart from that, we've been in the world's strictest quarantine now for longer than Wuhan was locked down. And for Caesar and I, from when we pretty much self-isolated ourselves in that first apartment we were in, today is day 92. We are counting. So, I hope we might have an appointment this week or next week with immigration, but you know me, hope is one of my sayings, is hope is a terrible strategy, but sadly it's all we've got. That's the first piece of bad news. Now, more bad news, sadly, from Panama. Despite having one of the world's strictest quarantines and one of the world's longest also, I suspect, the number of cases is rising. Partly that's because, yes, they are doing more testing, and the testing is now over 2,000 a day. I'm still not sure that that's actually what they need to be doing, but that's what they're doing. But more concerningly, the number of positive test results as a percentage of tests done is rising. And now the number of cases in the number of cases requiring hospitalization is rising. The number of patients in ICU is rising. Now, they're not all COVID patients, but the problem, of course, is the capacity of the healthcare system. And if this trend continues, whatever reason these people are getting sick, COVID and other diseases, if the trend of increased hospitalizations and ICU patients continues, the healthcare system here in Panama could potentially be overwhelmed if we continue on this path. I think they are looking at some kind of tent situation for an overflow. I think they also may be looking at a conference centre to be used for extra hospital patients. So, they're obviously aware of the problem, and they have some good people and some good data, although it's not necessarily easy to find. I'm going to put some charts in here. Caesar's been keeping some good data on the number of tests done and the number of tests as a percentage, positive tests as a percentage of total is the one that we want to look at. We also are keeping a close eye on the number of hospitalizations. And you'll note that about 14 days after block 1, that's an economic block of activity, 14 days after that opened, the number of positive test results started to increase, and that's the concerning metric here on this chart. And then quarantine was lifted for most of the country, but not for Panama and Panama Oeste. And now Colón, which is the northern Caribbean side of the canal, the city at that end of the canal, is also in a strict quarantine because the number of cases there particularly is starting to rise and become concerning. And so here we wait for this virus to run its course here in Panama. It's here to stay for a while, and we just have to make sure that we don't get sick. Now again, I know that my chances of getting gravely ill or dying from COVID are very, very low. But I cannot afford to get sick and be bedridden for a couple of weeks. I have to work. I don't get sick leave or sick pay, and I don't want to interrupt our business and the service that I'm providing to my membership to that degree. I'm particularly with the markets being so volatile. And I take my job very seriously, and I enjoy it, and I want that to continue. So, but most importantly, I don't have a backup for me. I'm it, so I can't get sick. So I don't know when quarantine is going to be lifted for Panama City. The government says that while the number of cases are increasing, that they're not going to lift quarantine, and so we will not be able to leave the city even if we are able to make that visa application. So we could be here a while. We've just booked another couple of weeks in this accommodation because obviously we need to, and we'll just take it week by week and see how it goes. 92 days, and we are not city people. The last home we had in New Zealand was in Matarangi in Coromandel. Permanent resident population 350, does swell to about 5,000 in the summer weeks, during which we escaped because we couldn't handle it. We went down to the South Island for that. We're country people. We prefer to live in isolated rural places. So we need to surf, we need to be by the beach. I mean, I need to surf for my soul to remain happy, and happiness level of my soul after 92 days being stuck in a city. I'm just going to finish this video by having a wee chat about internet trolls, something I actually find mildly amusing. I've had some very odd comments, and I've read a lot of stuff on social media from people bizarrely insisting COVID-19 doesn't exist. Okay, see how far that gets you. Don't get sick with it then. I wonder what part of the world those people are living in. Probably not a COVID hotspot. I think there are plenty of scientists who would disagree with you, plenty of doctors and nurses in hospitals who would disagree with you, plenty of mass graves who would also disagree with you. I think I may have a comments policy for my YouTube channel. I'll start putting it in the description box under every video. Scientifically illiterate bollocks will be deleted. Anyone who calls anyone a sheep is going to get blocked immediately. That's so rude, man. Like, just don't be a dick. Don't be rude. Don't be mean. As a person with a Bachelor of Science degree, I do tend to trust what scientists have to say. I'm just going to turn my fan on because it's quite a hot day today. I do tend to put quite a lot of weight on science, and I do generally believe that it's a fairly decent method of figuring out the world around us. It doesn't mean I'm going to blindly believe everything every scientist says, but I am going to read a range of opinions, and I'm going to have a better than layperson's understanding of how to interpret that information. I also tend to refer to my sister, who's much more qualified than I, and her partner. They've both got PhDs in science, and I'll go with what they say as well. So I don't have a lot of time for scientific literacy. What I find more amusing though is a really interesting comment I had on one of the videos on my channel last week from someone who asserted that because I'm a woman, I'm stupid. Okay, I think my friends and family who know me very well would tend to find that maybe as amusing as I do, because I'm not stupid. Those kinds of comments, they can stay, because I actually find that quite amusing, and I think it says more about the person leaving it than it says about me. And I find the irony there quite heavy. But those people will be blocked. But I'll leave those comments up because that's quite funny. It's an interesting reminder of the gendered, sexist bullshit that women have to deal with online. I mean, I see other women seem to get a lot worse than me, and I don't quite know why. I mean, I've had a few weird comments like that from time to time over the years, but I've made my living online for over a decade now, and I actually get very, very little of that highly gendered rubbish. I'm quite active on Twitter, and I'm quite opinionated. I have no qualms expressing my opinion whatsoever. Here I am doing it week after week for you. And I still tend to get very little of that. And the little I do, luckily for me, I find it quite amusing, highly amusing, so yeah. Okay, I'm going to finish there. That's all I've got, people. I mean, you don't need me to ramble on. I've actually got no good news. I hope next week I'll have some good news for you. Yeah. Stay safe, people. Stay healthy. Stay well. See you next week.